They brought together more than 40 different species under one banner of peace and order. Each species had its place and its voice, but the High Chancellor always held the final word. His name was Lord Regent Zykar Th, and many called him the King because no one could challenge his power. The council met on a huge station that floated above the green planet Vexara Prime. The station shone like a jewel in space, with towers of crystal and halls of glowing light. On this day, the council welcomed a new voice. Humanity had joined only a short time ago, after long years of watching from the edge. The humans came from a small blue world called Earth. They were young in the eyes of the old races. They had climbed from dirt and fire to reach the stars in only a few centuries. The council saw them as rough and loud, but useful for trade. Ambassador Elias Kane arrived to speak for Earth. He was a tall man with silver hair, calm, gray eyes. He wore a simple dark suit that had no bright colors or shining metals. He carried himself with quiet strength. Many delegates watched him with curiosity, and some with hidden smiles. They thought he would bow low and speak soft words of thanks. They were wrong. The great chamber filled with beings of every shape. There were tall feathered ones with sharp beaks. There were short-shelled ones that clicked as they walked. There were gas-filled floaters that glowed in soft blues and greens. And there was Zykar Th on his high throne. He looked like a giant insect with black armor and long, sharp limbs. His eyes shone red, and his mandibles moved slowly as he listened. The session began with small matters. Trade routes were discussed. Borders were adjusted. Old quarrels were settled with cold words. Then it was time for the human to speak. Elias Kane stepped to the center platform. Soft light fell on him. He looked up at the circle of faces high above. He raised one hand in the human sign of honest greeting. "Honored members of the council," he said in a clear voice, "I come today with heavy truth. My people have found proof that weapons from council worlds have reached pirate ships. Those ships attack our outer colonies and kill our families. We have logs and wreckage and prisoner words that point to secret help from inside this very alliance." A low hum rose in the chamber. Some delegates turned to each other. Others stared hard at the human. Zykar Th leaned forward on his throne. His red eyes narrowed. "You bring accusations against us," he said in a deep, buzzing tone. "You stand in our hall and claim we break our own laws. That is bold for a new race." Elias Kane did not flinch. "I bring facts, not insults," he answered. "Here are the records for all to see." He touched a small device on his wrist. Hollow images appeared in the air. They showed crates marked with council symbols. They showed pirate leaders holding those weapons. They showed attack reports from human worlds with dates and names. The chamber grew quiet. Then Zykar Th stood. His wings spread wide behind him. "This is not proof," he declared. "This is insult to our honor. You come here fresh from your mud ball and dare to judge us, we who have kept peace for ages beyond your counting." He raised one long limb. A ceremonial guard stepped forward. The guard carried a tall lance that glowed with blue plasma. The weapon hummed with power. Elias Kane looked at the lance, then back at Zykar Th. "If you silence truth with force," he said, "then you prove my words right." Zykar Th gave a sharp laugh that echoed like breaking glass. "Truth," he repeated. "Your truth is nothing here. You forget your place." Nodded to the guard. The lance moved fast. Blue fire leaped from the tip. It struck Elias Kane in the chest. His body glowed white for one heartbeat. Then it turned to ash that drifted down like gray snow. The chamber exploded in sound. Some cheered with high clicks and whistles. Others sat still in shock. A few turned their faces away. Zykar Th lowered his limb. "Let this be a lesson," he said, to every corner of the hall. "The young must learn respect, or they pay the price." The broadcast went out to every council world and every listening station. Billions saw the death of the human ambassador. On Earth, the images arrived through deep space relays. People gathered in homes and streets and command centers. They watched in silence as the man who spoke for them burned away. No one shouted, no one cried out loud, but eyes grew hard, hands closed into fists. In the main government building, a single message was prepared. It traveled back along the same path the images had come. The words were short. "We acknowledge receipt." That was all. No threats, no demands, no anger in the text. Just those 4 words. The council received the reply. Some laughed, others shrugged. They thought the matter closed. They thought humans would swallow the loss and stay quiet. They thought wrong. On Earth, the wheels began to turn in shadows. Meetings happened behind locked doors. Old plans were pulled from deep vaults. Names were whispered that had not been spoken in years. One name rose again and again. Obsidian Vale. It was not a plan for war. It was a promise kept from darker days, when humans faced enemies who thought them weak, when the choice was fight or die. Now the promise woke once more. And somewhere in the quiet, someone said the word that would guide every step. Measured. The galaxy waited for screams or fleets or fire. Instead, it met silence. Deep, perfect silence. And in that silence, humanity sharpened its blade. For 3 standard months, the galaxy saw nothing from Earth. No ships gathered at the borders. No angry words filled the council channels. Train ships still came and went with their usual loads of grain and metal and rare ores. Human diplomats stayed at their posts on neutral stations. They smiled politely and answered questions in calm voices. They signed the small agreements and paid the agreed fees. To every watching eye, humanity seemed to accept the loss. They seemed to bend under the weight of the lesson. The council delegates talked about it in their private halls. They said the humans had learned their place at last. They said one sharp strike had taught the young race respect. Zykar Thos sat on his throne and felt pleased. He replayed the recording of the execution many times. He watched the blue fire take the ambassador again and again. Each time he felt the same rush of power. He told his closest aides that the matter was finished. No more trouble would come from that small blue world. He planned his next retreat to the pleasure world of Karzul. There he would rest among soft lights and sweet air. There he would enjoy the best foods and the finest music. He deserved it, after keeping order so well. On Earth, the surface stayed quiet. People went to work and children went to school. Markets stayed open, and lights stayed on. But under the surface, everything changed. In windowless rooms deep beneath mountains, leaders met without sleep. They came from every nation and every old rival group. For the first time in many years, no one argued over borders or old wars. They all agreed on one thing. Elias Kane had died speaking for all of them. His death demanded an answer. Not loud rage that would fade fast, not blind attack that would cost too many lives. Something that would last. They opened the oldest files, papers sealed since the days before first contact, back when humans fought each other with fire and steel and fear of the end. In those files lived plans born from dark times, plans made when the enemy seemed too strong to beat. One plan stood out above the rest, Obsidian Vale. It had no grand fleets or shining weapons. It used shadows and patience and surprise. It turned small things into terrible ones. It made the strong feel weak without ever seeing the hand that struck. The leaders read the old words and nodded. They woke the plan with new codes. Teams formed in secret. Some were soldiers trained in silence. Some were hackers who lived in code. Some were scientists who built things no one else dreamed of. Some were spies who had lived among aliens for years. They all worked without names. They used numbers or colors or simple words. They spoke little and moved fast. One group studied every moment of the execution recording. They watched Zykar Tha face again and again. They saw how his mandibles clicked with pride. They saw how his wings spread when he felt strong. They saw the small gestures that showed vanity. They learned he loved to be seen as the only king. They learned he hated any challenge to his rule. They learned he went to Karzul every cycle without fail. He called it contemplation, but everyone knew it was luxury. Another group mapped the pleasure world. Karzul had thick shields and fast ships and loyal guards. But the defenses faced threats from other council races. Big fleets with known weapons, not quiet human tricks. The spies sent back details. Hidden paths through the outer rings. Weak points in the power grid. Times when guards changed shift. Ways to slip small things past. Big scanners. They found one perfect gap. A supply route used for rare foods from distant worlds. A route checked by machines more than living eyes. A route that accepted gifts sent in friendship. They chose that path. Meanwhile, money moved in secret. Funds appeared in hidden accounts. Ships changed hands under false names. Factories and quiet systems built strange devices. Small drones with new gravitic hearts. Code that could eat through alien systems like acid. Tools that left no trace. Everything stayed small. Everything stayed hidden. No one outside the circle knew the full shape. Even inside, few saw the whole plan. Compartment by compartment it grew. Each piece fit without touching the next. If one fell, the rest stayed safe. Time passed, and still no word came from Earth. The council grew bored with waiting. They turned to other matters. New trade deals. Disputes. Zykar Th grew bolder. He spoke of humans as broken now. He said they would never rise again. He laughed at the memory of the gray ash drifting down. He ordered more weapons sent to the pirate groups. He thought no one watched. He was wrong. On Earth, a single meeting happened at the end. The leaders sat around a plain table. No flags hung on the walls. No titles were used. One woman stood and spoke for all. She had been Elias Kane's wife for 30 years. Her voice stayed steady. "We do not want their empire," she said. "We do not want their fear. We want balance. One life taken demands one life given. Not more, not less. Measured. Every head nodded. No one spoke against it. They set the final date. They chose the tool, a simple freighter called SS Long Memory. It carried no guns. It carried food and drink marked as gifts. Goodwill from a humbled race. The council heard the request and allowed it. They saw no threat in one small ship. They saw only proof of submission. Zykar Th smiled when he heard. He said, "Let them send their sweets." He would eat them on Karzul and laugh. The ship left Earth orbit on quiet engines. It moved slow and steady. It followed the approved path. No one stopped it. No one searched it deep. Inside the cargo bay, workers checked the load one last time. They opened a hidden panel. They woke the small drone. It was no bigger than a human child. It had no weapons. It had only a hollow projector and a single recording. The voice of Elias Kane, calm and clear. The last words he spoke before the fire took him. The drone waited in darkness, patient as stone. The freighter approached Karzul. Docking lights flashed green. Clamps locked with soft clicks. Cargo bay opened slow. The drone slipped out. It drifted toward the king's private spire. No alarm sounded. No guards turned. Space stayed quiet. And in that quiet, the next step began. The SS Long Memory approached Karzul under slow engines. It looked like any other trade ship. Plain hull, gray paint, no weapons showing. The docking request came through clean. "This is Earth Freighter Long Memory, carrying goodwill gifts for the High Chancellor. We request permission to unload delicacies prepared in his honor." The station control answered fast. "Permission granted. Bay 7, proceed with caution." The clamps locked with quiet thuds. Air seals hissed open. Workers in plain suits moved crates marked with earth fruit symbols and sweet labels. They worked slow and careful, like people who feared mistake. Inside one crate, hidden under layers of preserved honeycakes, sat the small drone. It waited dark and still. Its shell matched the crate color, perfect camouflage. At exactly 0317 station time, the crate lid cracked open just enough. The drone slipped out, silent as shadow, drifted toward the inner corridors, using tiny thrusters that made no sound. No heat signature, no radio chatter, nothing to catch a scanner. The king's private spire rose high above the main station, a tower of black crystal wrapped in gold filigree. Guards stood at every level, tall armored figures with energy lances. They watched the main doors and the lift shafts. They did not watch the small service vents high above. The drone found one vent grate loose from years of neglect. It pushed through with a soft push. Inside the narrow tube, it moved fast, hugging the walls. It passed humming power lines and glowing data conduits. It reached the outer shield layer. Here the station's best defense waited, thick gravitic field meant to stop missiles and boarding craft. The drone stopped. It unfolded tiny legs, tipped with new human tech. Gravitic pulse emitters, small as needles. They fired in sequence, soft waves that bent space just enough. The shield rippled like water touched by stone. A hole opened for 3 heartbeats. The drone slipped through. The hole closed behind it, smooth as if never there. Now inside the spire, it floated toward the heart. The king's personal chambers waited ahead. Soft music drifted through the air. Sweet scents of rare flowers filled every breath. Zykarthi lay on a wide couch made of living silk. He sipped from a crystal cup. His aides moved around him, quiet and quick. They brought more food, more drink, more praise. He laughed low and pleased. The drone reached the ceiling above the main room. It clung there like an insect on stone. Its projector lens opened slow. No sound came yet. It waited for the perfect moment. Zykarthi raised his cup to toast another victory. That was the signal. The drone activated. Light bloomed bright and sharp, flashed white, then cleared. Every speaker hummed at once. Every neural implant worn by the guards and aides buzzed loud. The voice of Elias Kane filled the space. Calm, steady, without anger. You mistake restraint for weakness. You mistake mercy for cowardice. Remember this moment when you look into human eyes again. The words played at 10,000 times normal volume. They shook the air. They rattled the crystal walls. They pierced every mind. Zykarthoth dropped his cup. The liquid spilled across his armor. His mandibles opened wide in shock. The aides froze. The guards spun looking for the source. But the voice came from everywhere. It looped once, then twice. Each time louder, clearer, deeper. Zykarthoth roared. Find it. Kill it now. Guards rushed forward, lances raised. They searched high and low. They tore at panels and vents. The drone stayed high, stayed still, stayed dark. Its job was done. At the same moment, far away, in hidden nodes across the galaxy, other things woke. Quiet programs, buried in council financial systems. They had waited months, patient as ice. Now they moved. Trillions in hidden wealth, tied to Zykarth's personal name, vanished. Accounts zeroed out in perfect silence. Shell companies collapsed like cards. Allied houses found their funds locked under suspicion flags. Panic spread through private channels. Rich delegates who backed the king suddenly found themselves poor. They called for help. No answer came. The council's central bank tried to trace the theft. Every trail led to dead ends. Every code pointed back to nothing. Humans left no fingerprints. Zykar TH staggered to his command console. He demanded status. His aides stammered. "My lord, the accounts, the wealth, it is gone." He struck one aide hard. Buzzed. "Fix it now." But nothing could be fixed. The damage was total, clean, surgical. Outside the spire, alarms finally sounded. Red lights flashed slow. Guards poured in from every door. They scanned for intruders. They found nothing. The drone had already slipped back into the vent. It drifted down the same path it came. It left no trace. The voice of Elias Kane faded at last. Silence returned heavy and thick. Zykar Thys stood alone in his chamber. His wings trembled, his red eyes darted. For the first time in centuries he felt small. He ordered his yacht prepared. He would leave Karzul at once. He would go to the Council Heart. He would demand fleets. He would crush the humans. He told himself it was still his power. He told himself they feared him still. But deep inside something cracked. The galaxy heard the story fast. Whispers spread from station to station. The king humiliated in his own home, his fortune stolen by ghosts, a dead man's voice that shook the stars. No fleet launched from Earth, no soldiers marched, only one small ship had come, and one small drone. Yet the blow landed deep. Delegates who once cheered the execution now looked away. They wondered who might be next. They wondered what else the humans hid. On Earth, the word measured echoed again. One step taken, more waited. The hunt had begun, and the prey still did not see the trap, closing slow around him. Zykar Thys boarded his personal yacht in haste. The ship was a masterpiece of council engineering, long and sleek, with golden armor and engines that could outrun most fleets. Its name translated to Eternal Dominion. Inside, luxury filled every corner. Soft beds, rare woods, glowing jewels. Guards of the highest ranks surrounded him. They were hand-picked, loyal to the death, armed with the best weapons. Zykar Thys settled into the command throne. His mandibles still trembled from the shame on Karzul. He ordered full speed away from the pleasure world. "Take me to the council core," he commanded. "There I will rally the fleets, there I will end this insult." The yacht leaped into hyperspace, smooth and fast. Stars stretched into lines outside the viewports. For hours nothing happened. The crew relaxed a little. They thought distance had saved their king. They were wrong. Deep in empty space, where no world spun, no ships patrolled a network, waited. Years earlier, humanity had placed tiny probes across key routes. Each probe no bigger than a fist, stealthed, black and cold. They slept for decades, drawing power from nothing but starlight. They waited for one code. That code arrived, now silent and hidden in a routine trade signal. The probes woke. Dozens of them near the yacht path. They drifted into position, quiet as dust. As the yacht crossed the empty sector, space came alive. Micro-jump drones appeared from nowhere. They used folded space tricks the Council had never seen. No flash, no warning. They latched onto the yacht hull like metal seeds on soil. Each drone, small as a hand, carried no guns. They carried needles of code. They pierced the outer armor, found data ports, and slipped inside. The first systems fell fast. Navigation stuttered. Shields flickered. The crew noticed too late. Screamed red across every deck. The captain shouted orders. Seal sections, reroute power, fight back. But the code spread like fire in dry grass. It rewrote commands. It locked doors. It turned weapons against their own mounts. Life support dropped. Slow at first, then faster. Air grew thin. Lights dimmed to red emergency glow. The guards in the command chamber drew their lances. They fired at shadows. They hit nothing. The intruders were inside the machines, not flesh. Zykar Thys stood from his throne. His wings beat hard in panic. "What is happening?" he roared. The captain knelt low. "My lord, unknown infection in the systems. We lose control deck by deck." Zykar Thys struck him down. "Useless," he buzzed. Prepare my escape pod. I will not die here. Guards rushed to obey. They dragged him toward the small pod at the rear. But the code reached there too. Tight. Locks spun wrong. The pod would not open. Zykartha pounded on the metal. His claws scratched useless lines. Rage turned to fear. He turned back to the main chamber. Screens showed the truth. Crew members fell one by one, choking on thin air. Guards fought machines that no longer obeyed. Lances sparked against locked panels. Some tried to rip out the infected cores. Their hands came away burned. The yacht drifted now, engines silent. It floated in the black like a dead thing. Hours passed. The last guard fell. Only Zykartha remained. He barricaded himself in the vault room. Thick walls, armored glass, food stores, air reserves. He thought it would save him. He was wrong again. The code seeped through micro cracks. It poisoned the air recyclers slow drop by drop. It turned heat to cold. It dimmed the lights until only his red eyes glowed. Floor, wings folded tight. He whispered to himself. This cannot be. I am the king. They cannot do this. A single screen flickered on. No face appeared at first. Then a woman stepped into view. She wore simple clothes, no armor, no rank. Her hair was dark, her eyes steady. She was Elias Kane's widow. Her name was Mara. She spoke soft but clear. The words carried across the empty ship. We do not want your empire. We do not want your worlds. We want justice for one man, and we will have it. Zykartha stared at the screen. He tried to speak. His mandibles clicked empty. No words came. Mara looked straight at him. You took a life in public. We return the dead in kind. Not more, not less. The screen went black. The vault lights failed. Darkness swallowed him. Zykartha curled small. He waited for death, but death did not come. Quick. The ship broadcast one last signal, untraceable wideband. It reached the council chambers on Vexara Prime. Delegates gathered in fear. They watched the feed. They saw the dead yacht drifting. They saw the broken king alone. They heard Mara's words again. The beacon went silent. No more came from the ship. The council sat in shock. Some whispered of fleets, others spoke of talks. Most stayed quiet. They knew something had changed. Humans had not screamed for war. They had not burned worlds. They had taken one ship. They had taken one life. And they had left the message clear. The galaxy waited. No one knew what came next. But every leader felt the cold touch. The touch of measured revenge. And somewhere in the dark, a small blue world stayed silent. It waited too. One stroke done. The hunt closed slow. And the king still breathed for now. One cycle passed after the yacht went dark. The council waited in growing fear. No fleets came from Earth. No demands filled the channels. Only silence, deep and heavy. Delegates met in small groups. They whispered of possible war. They spoke of hidden human weapons. They feared what might come next. Zykartha had vanished. His throne stood empty. His aides scattered like leaves in wind. Some tried to claim power. Others hid in their home worlds. The council felt leaderless for the first time in ages. Then on the appointed day, a small unmarked courier ship appeared at Vexara Prime. It flew under flag of truce, white banner plain and clear. No weapons showed on its hull. No escort followed. Station control hailed it cautious. Identify yourself. State your purpose. The reply came calm and short. This is Earth courier vessel carrying a delivery for the Galactic Council. Request docking under truce terms. No search will be allowed. The council debated fast. Some wanted to destroy the ship. Others feared worse revenge. In the end, they granted docking. Bay 12 lower level. Guards lined the corridor thick and ready. Lances charged, eyes sharp. The courier hatch opened slow. One human stepped out. a woman in simple gray clothes. Mara Kane, widow of the dead ambassador. She carried nothing but a small crystal case, clear as glass, heavy in her hands. She walked forward steady. Guards closed in around her. They scanned her body. They found no weapons, no devices. She stopped at the chamber entrance. The great doors opened wide. The council sat in full session. Every species represented. High seats filled. All eyes turned to the human woman. She stepped inside. The doors closed behind her with soft boom. She placed the crystal case on the central platform. Light from above fell on it. Inside lay Zykar Fach. He lived. His body curled small, his armor stripped away, his mandibles gone, cut clean, so he could never speak in public again. His wings clipped short, stubs, useless. Transparent restraints held his limbs. Every scar from the long ordeal showed clear. Bruises, cuts, burns that told of slow suffering. His red eyes stared out, dull and broken. He breathed shallow. He made no sound. The council gasped as one. Some turned away. Others stared frozen. Mara spoke in a voice that carried to every corner. Humanity does not conquer. We do not want your empire. We do not want your stars. We remember. One life was taken in this hall. One life is returned here. We repaid in kind. One for one. Let this be the end of the debt, or the beginning of yours. She turned without another. She walked back to the doors. They opened for her. She stepped through. The courier ship left soon after. It jumped away clean and fast. No pursuit followed. The council sat in total silence. No one moved to free the broken king. No one spoke his name. They stared at the case, at the living monument to human will. Zykar Th remained there for hours. Then quiet aides came. They carried the case away, not to a throne, not to a cell, to a quiet room far from sight. There he stayed, alive but forgotten, a warning without words. Years passed after that day. The council changed slow but sure. No human envoy was ever harmed again. When new ambassadors came, they were treated with care. Seats were offered first. Voices were heard longer. Accusations were answered with facts, not fire. Trade grew. Borders stayed calm. Old pirate routes dried up. No one spoke of the reason, but everyone knew. Humans did not forgive easy. They did not forget at all. When they took revenge, they made it last. They made it teach. They made the galaxy remember why. On Earth, life went on. Children learned the name Elias Kane in schools, not as victim, but as the man who spoke truth, and whose death woke something deep. Statues rose in quiet parks. Simple stone figures of a silver-haired man. No grand poses, just calm eyes looking forward. People visited them. They left small notes. They said thank you. They said we remember. Mara Kane lived long after. She spoke little of the events. She worked in gardens. She taught young diplomats. She told them one thing above all. Speak clear, stand straight, and never think mercy means weakness. The stars turned. Species rose and fell. But the lesson stayed. Carved in crystal, carried in silence. One king broken, one debt paid, and humanity proved again they were not the youngest race. They were the ones who endured, the ones who measured twice and cut once. The galaxy learned, when a human says measured, it means forever, and when they say revenge, it means exact. No more, no less. Just justice, cold, clear, final, and unforgettable.